Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar. Like Barry said, we'd like to talk about cybersecurity today, and I want to specifically address the issue of should telcos provide cybersecurity, or more accurately, can they afford even not to do that anymore? And I believe you understand my answer to that question. So I'll start maybe with a few words about Allot. For those of you who are less familiar with us, Allot is a software company. We cater mostly to communication service providers. We have hundreds of communication service providers globally as our customers, quite a few of them tier one operators. We're publicly traded, both on NASDAQ and the Tel Aviv Stock Exchange. You can see here that our revenues last year were $146 million. Of which $40 million were cybersecurity revenues. And over the last few years, we've had nice 15% CAGR growth rates. And we've been dealing really we've been dealing with this and with a management team that has had decades of experience working with operators and working specifically with security. So a few words, just to highlight on the product side. Allot basically has two product families, okay? One we call Allot Smart, which is more our heritage, where we came from, also known as a DPI type product, deep packet inspection, where we have a series of products in that family that we provide to communication service providers globally that enable them to get analytics on what's happening in their network and also to control the traffic on the network in cases like, for example, congestion and other uses that they have to get more out of the network. Why do I think that this is important? Because this heritage built in Allot the technology foundation to develop software that handles the vast capacities of terabits per second that run through a national operator's network, and in addition to that, to enable and have full multi-tenancy capability that enables us to do different rules, add subscribers, take them off, have everybody configure different things, which is what is needed in the consumer market. All of that we took into what we call Allot Secure, our 360-degree security solution, which we'll talk about today, which enables the operators to provide security to the end customer, to the mass market end customer, consumers, SOHO, and to some degree SMBs, where we are filtering out and protecting them from malware, phishing attempts, etc., that are on the internet before it even reaches their devices. So the essence of Allot Secure is a zero-touch focused solution intended at the mass market and SMB markets, not at the enterprise market. And our whole focus is to protect consumers, regardless of which device they are on, across any device, regardless where they are, whether they are at home, on the road, wherever it is, across any threat, whether it's ransomware, phishing attempts, or other things, all under a unified control and all from the network itself. And that's what we'll be talking about today. So just to give you a picture, is that this is not merely slideware that we thought of yesterday. This is a broad picture of where we have operators that have already deployed our network-based security solutions globally. And you can see here quite a few well-known names: Vodafone, Telefonica, Altice, Mio, you can see Hutchison, Geo, Synctel, etc. Quite a few customers globally that have deployed this technology in their network and are providing these kinds of services to their end users, to their customers. So this is a very well-established product that is working and providing services today, actually, to more than 20 million end customers globally. Let's start with trying to analyze the challenge that consumers actually have Then let's talk about, are the operators the ones that can really address the challenge? And then we'll see what our solution is to that, and then we'll talk a little bit about the numbers. Is it really interesting, or is it or how interesting this is? So I'll start with talking about the consumer and SMB cybersecurity challenge. First of all, we know that threats on the internet are growing exponentially. You can take any graph from any research or any work that's been done on this. Number of phishing attacks is growing. The total number of malwares is growing. Everything is growing. The threats on the internet are growing all the time. What we've seen over the last couple of years, in addition to that, is that the border between working at home, working in the office, etc., has blurred. And together with COVID, this has accelerated this change, where we actually, we need to be protected at home, at the office. It's all the same, and the whole differentiation between I'm a consumer and an employee, it's become much harder. We've also seen the number of attacks growing during this period. Again, it's been growing over every year for quite a few years, but with COVID, it's accelerated even further. And I believe that as 5G networks come in with much higher bandwidth, with a much larger attack surface, with many more IoT devices connected to them, this will accelerate this trend of a larger number of attacks, larger number of threats on the internet even further. So the threats are there and they are growing. So the next question to ask is, okay, so who is responsible to protect the consumer from these threats? And the surprising answer a bit, once you think about it, is that it's the consumer himself or herself that are responsible to protect themselves. How is one expected to do so today? Go online, find a security app that can protect you against malware, phishing, what have you. Download it, buy it, download it, install it, and then you're protected. But is this really a good enough solution? And when we take a slightly deeper look, then while technically, yes, absolutely, the apps, once installed and configured correctly, they work. There's no question. But does it solve the mass market problem? And when you look at it a bit more carefully, you see that consumers actually don't want to implement these apps on all their devices. They don't want to start downloading stuff to their phone, their computer, their smart TV, to everything else, to the router, etc., and they don't really do it. When we look at, okay, so in different countries, how many consumers actually download security apps? The number is less than 5%. Actually download, not think about it, look at it, consider it. What did they actually do? Less than 5%. Another way of saying that is more than 95% of consumers don't download any kind of app. And that means, to me, that the security apps actually don't solve the problem. Not because they don't work technically, but because the whole idea of having to download and install them makes them not accessible to 95% of the people. So if you want to look at it in a slightly different way, basically consumers, small businesses, SOHOs cannot be their own CISOs. It's not the same for a company with an IT department and a CISO, and the same for a consumer. It doesn't work the same way. When people are responsible for themselves, they're actually not capable, etc., to be their own CISO. That doesn't work. And to quote Tag Cyber, which is a leading consultancy agency in this field, this is a huge opportunity for telecoms, and we'll get back to this, to provide a very simple and clear package of cybersecurity to protect people and family in their homes and across whatever means they've got. So what is the opportunity? We saw that there's a challenge here and it's not addressed today. What's the opportunity actually? First of all, when we look at it, consumers, to make this into opportunity, consumers have to be aware of it. They have to be aware of that there's a problem. They have to be aware that they want to be protected. So we've done surveys really globally in many different countries in in North America, in Europe, in Asia, and Latin America, wherever. And while the numbers vary, the message is consistent. The vast number of consumers are very much aware of the problem. They worry about it. For example, in the US, 68% of US consumers worry about becoming a victim of identity theft. 63% of them worry about unauthorized access to the bank account. And when you ask them a further question, okay, so who do you expect, as you're worried about it, who do you expect to take care of you? 70% of consumers actually expect the operator to provide them with a security solution and to protect them against malware attacks. If you like, I will give you, an analogy to that expectation. Is same way that when I buy water from the water utility company, I fully expect the water utility company to deliver clean water to my home, that when I open the faucet, I can fill my glass and drink the water safely. I fully expect the broadband utility company, which we call the communication service provider, to deliver to me clean, safe broadband, clean of phishing, malware, etc. That's the expectation. Now, does that mean there's a business here? Are consumers willing to pay to be protected, or they just want something for nothing? Again, we've run multiple surveys globally. The answer almost always comes back the same. Yes, they are willing to pay. How much? That differs from one country to another, but generally, consumers are willing to pay anywhere between 5 to 10% of ARPU, of what their package costs, to have that package become, to add to that package security, to make it a secure internet connection and not just a broadband connection. And you see here the numbers for specifically for the US. They're willing to pay on mobile users $2 to $4 a month. Fixed broadband users are willing to pay 3, 5, so even some of them are willing to pay more of that per month. It's a significant amount for any operator if they can get a high penetration of their customer base that will pay them these additional dollars for security. So yes, customers are aware, they're looking to the CSP to protect them, and they are willing to pay to be protected. So are the CSPs positioned to provide these security services? Can they do it? And as it turns out, they are very uniquely positioned to do it for a very simple reason. The communication service provider is the sole provider of access to the network. We all access the internet through a CSP one way or another. Therefore, they are capable technically of blocking the attacks before they reach the consumer, before they reach the customer, which means that the operator can really provide a zero-touch clientless type service with the right technology. And the operator also has multiple touch points with the customers, right? They're a trusted brand. We know them very, very well. We have a billing relationship. We have frequent interactions with them, whether we change our plan or we want to buy something else or what have you. So this is an operator that's providing us connectivity to the internet that is capable of blocking the attacks before they reach us as consumers. And really, there's no other way. They have many touch points with us, and there's really no other way to get the internet other than through the CSP. So yes, they're extremely well positioned to provide these services. Now, once you look at the numbers, and I'll show you the economics in a few slides, this could actually become the next big thing for operators. Network-based cybersecurity could really be the next big thing for them. We talk to operators worldwide, right? And they all face very, very similar dilemmas. They are constantly being relegated more and more to, and I know that operators don't like the term, but I can't help saying it, to a dumb pipe. And they're providing a commodity type service. So they're looking for something to enable them to charge more, create new revenues, and have something that sticks to them. And there are 3 elements here that can add tremendously to the operator. One is brand recognition, turning the operator from a broadband provider to a secure broadband provider. Totally different brand recognition. for the operator. New revenues, right? Because customers are willing to pay more, 5, 7, 8% in addition to the package. And third point, and this we see in customers that have launched this, operators that have launched this, customer loyalty is higher. Once a consumer buys the security service, they are much less likely to churn, and churn is a big, big issue for operators globally. So they have three main values here. Another point, which I think is extremely important, because the operators are the ones that control the access to the internet and nobody else does, then providing security on that internet access is something that the operator can do, but other large tech companies like Facebook, Amazon, etc., cannot do this because they don't control, they don't own the access to the internet. So it's a very unique position vis-a-vis, for example, all kinds of value-added services like, okay, let's add Netflix to the package or Disney Plus or Spotify or whatever, which everybody can do. Now, when we recognize this, we in Allot recognize this, we set out and to solve this problem. And the way I think of it is no less than actually revolutionizing how consumers and small medium businesses are protected and get cybersecurity. This is a total revolution. Why? Because we are shifting the responsibility from the consumer himself or herself to the communication service provider that will now take care of the consumer and protect them. That's a massive revolution in the market, in how this is being delivered, in how it's being protected. It's a huge, huge shift. Now, it's taking some time, but we see this happening today daily. I'll pause here a minute and say a few words about the solution itself. What is it that we're developing? Allot, we're a technology company. So we're providing the communication service providers, the telcos, we're providing them with our product, the Allot Secure solution, to implement in their network and to enable the operator to provide this kind of protection to the consumers. So what is the Allot Secure? At the high level, Allot Secure, when we designed it, we set out to protect customers. We like to call it 360 security. Why? Because we're protecting consumers from the network, right? Remember, it's from the network, zero-touch client list, against any threat, anywhere, whether at home or whether they're outside the home, across all their devices, whether it's an IoT device in the home, whether it's a smartphone, whether it's a computer, iPad, whatever, doesn't matter. That's the promise of Allot Secure, that in this case, the operator will provide the service based on Allot Secure, be able to protect the customer wherever they are against any threat on all their devices. How do we do that? To do that, we've designed Allot Secure in I would call it in a three-layer approach. The bottom layer is really where we have our enforcement points. It's where we have software that sits in the operator's network, and I'll talk in a minute of where in the network, and actually blocks the various malwares, attacks, and so on that occur in the network. Now we've got, for example, Network Secure, which is our core product. That's where we started. This is, think of it as a filter in the core of the mobile network. We have Home Secure, which is a software agent that the operator can download remotely into the Wi-Fi router in the home of anybody who's connected, who the operator is connecting to and providing broadband services to. Same thing, Business Secure, connecting it, we're putting a software agent in the SMB or the business router inside the business, protecting that business. IoT Secure resides in the network to protect IoT devices that are connected directly, usually to the mobile network. And DNS Secure is a security agent that's on the DNS query line, protecting at that point. All of these elements are managed by Allot Secure Management, which is a unified management layer that ensures that regardless if you're in the home and currently working on the Wi-Fi in the home and therefore being protected by Allot Home Secure, or you're outside driving around and you're on the mobile network and therefore you're being protected by Allot Network Secure, regardless, you are ensured by the unified management system that you have exactly the same security experience, you have exactly the same profiles. For example, if you decided to add parental control and prevent your kids from accessing certain content, then that will apply regardless where they are. They're at friend's house or your house or their house, whatever, or on the road, it will all be unified because it's a unified system. Now, all of this is fed from the Allot cloud so that the threat intelligence, the categorization of websites, updating device fingerprinting, and so on is done up to date, to the minute, across all these enforcement points, so you get the same unified, updated service, regardless where you are and how you're doing it. That's how Allot Secure was designed, or is designed, I should say. What are the economics on this? And are there potentially large numbers here? I think the answer is yes. And we take a look at it, take a look at the OECD countries. There's roughly $1,200 billion of connectivity revenue between mobile and fixed broadband in the OECD countries today. So potentially, operators that can charge between 5 to 8% of incremental revenue have a theoretical addressable market of 60 to $100 billion. Not everybody's going to take this. So penetration rates that we see after a few years are going to be between 25 to 40% of actual penetration, of actual number of users that are signing up for the service. So the more realistic potential revenue for the operators is 15 to $40 billion per year. Now, we'll talk in a minute about our business model and how we share in those revenues. But the market for us, for a company like Allot, we should be able to command between 30 to 50% of the revenues that the operators get, which makes it a multi-billion-dollar addressable market for us, for Allot, as the technology partner in this venture. In other words, large. Just to give you a few examples of what we're seeing with operators that have launched this and what is their price point. So you can see from left to right, you can see that Vodafone launched this in Europe for their mobile customers. They're charging almost €1 per month, which is about 5% of their average price plan. Hutchison in Austria is charging €1.5 per month, which is close to about 10% of their price plan over there. Both of these are going to consumers. Telefonica in Spain is charging a lot more because they're targeting, in this specific example, they're targeting the SMB market. So in the SMB market, they can charge a lot more. They're charging €10 per month. And on the right-hand side, you can see that Mio in Portugal has launched this service and is charging roughly, again, like Vodafone, roughly €1 per month for additional revenue to provide security for the broadband mobile users. So you can see that the numbers are realistic to look at 5, 7, 8% uplift to the ARPU. How many customers actually buy it? Quite a lot. Take a look at the top graph, and you look at the SMB customers. This is one of the operators that launched to the SMB customers. And you can see that they started around mid-19, and by about a year ago, they already reached 35% penetration, which means that over roughly a year and a half, they reached 35% of the total SMB customers that are paying them for the service. And this is going to continue and actually improve a bit from then. If you look at the bottom graph, you can see several graphs of take-up rates in Europe, in the European market. Each line represents a different country, and you can see that within roughly 3-4 years from launch, operators that take this seriously and go about doing this in the right way can reach anywhere from 35 to even 55% penetration of the relevant addressable market. I'm emphasizing this because it's not necessarily the total number of customers that they have, but for example, if they're addressing just data customers, obviously, that have postpaid plans, then that's the customer base they're addressing, and these numbers are the percentage of those that are actually taking the service. These are huge numbers. To contrast this with typical value-added services, a success is typically considered 5% after several years. So you can see that the numbers can be reached in terms of take-up rate much higher than that. How do we, as Allot, provide this technology to the operator? What is our value proposition from a commercial perspective? So, as you can see by now, I'm very bullish on the opportunities here. I think that if an operator launches this, they will be able to significantly change their brand positioning in the market, sell this to many customers, and generate significant revenues for themselves. So being so bullish, we're willing to partner with these operators. So our value proposition to them is that Allot will provide the operator everything that's required: hardware, software, professional services, marketing support, everything. We have a marketing team ready to work with the operator's marketing team to show them how to go to market with this and how to make this successful. Not just, okay, here's a bunch of hardware and software, make this work. We'll work with them every step of the way to make this succeed. We won't charge anything upfront, and we're not even looking for any financial commitment. Our success, Allot's success as a company, is 100% tied to the success of the operator in providing this service to their customers. And therefore, we believe that with such an aggressive offer, we're entitled to ask for a fair share of the revenues that will be generated by the operator when they launch the service. It means we'll have to be more patient. We don't just sell hardware, software, collect, and leave the operator on their own. But once the operator launches this and starts signing up customers and starts seeing the revenues come in, that's when our payback comes, and it can be potentially very large. Just to give you a couple of customer testimonials, you can see Hutchison Dry in Austria are saying that they're seeing attach rates of up to 80% of new customers. Up to 80% of new customers that sign up with Hutchison are buying the security service. You look at Mail, they've elected to use this because this kind of security service can't be bypassed, and it again shifts the burden from their customers, from the consumers, to the operator, and enables the operator to protect them. And if you want to look at just, okay, so how successful is this? In a Vodafone CEO on the earnings call said a few years ago, at that time, they were generating 160 million euros in revenue. And they planned, and they did continue to leverage this and continue to grow the business. So this is significant, and this works well with the operators that have launched this. Looking a bit into the future, I really think that this is just the beginning, because Allot is placed technically in a very strategic location in the network. We sit in the core, we sit in the router, we see 100% of the network traffic, and we know how to analyze and look at each and every packet that goes through there. And therefore, while today what we are doing is we are blocking malware and phishing and ransomware and so on, I believe that looking at all the traffic, we are working on enhancing the security in the future and providing more and more security. But not only that, adding additional features and capabilities, like, for example, consumer privacy, and there are a few other things that we're looking at. Because we sit on, if you like, the thread or the pipe that passes 100% of the traffic, and we look at each and every packet, this goes back to our core DPI capabilities, we are able to technically do this and add this value all the time. I'd maybe like to summarize a bit on how we believe that we're seizing this opportunity. First of all, we talked about it, the threats to the consumers and SMBs are growing in the network. Now, when we ask consumers and businesses that are unprotected, we talk to them, we see that the existing solutions don't work. Why? Because consumers cannot be their own CISOs. They don't want to start downloading stuff. They're either afraid of it, they don't know how to do it, whatever. They're left, 95% of them are left unprotected. They are looking to the operators, the CSPs, for solutions, and they're willing to pay them, to pay the operators to protect them against these various threats on the internet. We, as Allot, we're looking to revolutionize the mass market cybersecurity with a network-based security service offering that all operators globally will offer to the consumers, families, small businesses around the world, protecting them from the network itself. We think that this is a huge opportunity for both the operators and for Allot to generate new revenue, and with very, very high adoption rates in the market. Thank you very much.